Pokemon are going nuclear.
And will Twitch lose the race to a low-latency competitor?
A Pogo Kickstarter that's more than just a bad pun.
And how the Hyperloop train created an expectations hurricane for No Man's Sky.
I'm Sam Chen.
And I'm Paul Mooney.
All these stories and more planets in a procedurally generated sandbox game. Stick around, you're watching the Nerdy News Roundup.
We begin the show with a battle of wits between Team USA, Germany, and Peru. And no, we're not talking about the Olympics. We're talking about the hottest esport, League of Legends. League developer Riot is suing the owners of League Sharp, the largest bot/cheating service for the popular game. Sam, who won the gold, the German hackers or Team USA?
I mean, I think with League and Riot, it's got to be Team USA, right? I mean, Riot Games is so big and League brings in so much money that they should be able to enforce their will in whichever way they want to. Which is kind of ironic because in this situation, they actually did go and reach out to them and they're like, hey, look, we don't want to sue you, but cease and desist. Like, we'll sue you if we have to. But they did it the right way. They approached them, they tried to be cordial. No response.
They do anything, now it's time to get sued. And it makes sense. Like, ordinarily, I'd say, like, international lawsuits are kind of out of depth, but I think with as much money as they have, obviously the money train is going to keep rolling in, I think they're kind of the gorilla in the room. Right. You want to do what they say.
And, I mean, let's be honest, even now, this has started to be kind of a trend in the last couple of months. Epic sued a company that, kind of broke Paragon. They did the same thing. And I'm sure that's going to be successful as well. Yeah. I mean, these bot companies don't really have a leg to stand on. It's more like how much money can we make in the interim?
Right. Well, I think that's probably why they didn't respond to him in the first place, because they knew we're still getting the money that we have. If we shut it down, the money stops. We know we're going to get sued, but maybe we can just kind of slide out the back door or something.
Well, I think that's the irony of this, right? Because if you're League Sharp, right, you got to know that you're going to get shut down at some point.
Right.
So if Riot's going to make a case against you for damages, then they can actually come after your wallet.
True.
Before, they were just like, just stop. Uh-huh. Keep the money you have, just stop.
Maybe they're hoping they'll be like, okay, well, we're done. Like, now they're in court, but I'm not sure if that's going to play out the way they want it to or not. Well, also, you have to enforce the ruling, too. So even if they do get a monetary, compensation for it, they still got to pay them, and they could be like, we're not going to. But the lawsuit probably will shut them down, though, which is why they went this far. So
exactly. Speaking of cheaters, the steroid dilemma is affecting trainers all around the world. Pokemon Go bots have been running rampant, and Niantic is getting out the banhammer. Not only has the company been shutting down bot services, they've also been permanently banning players who get caught with their hands in the proverbial poke jar. Paul, were cheaters really ruining it for us all?
I don't really feel like they were. I mean, take it for what it's worth. I don't really pay Pokemon Go myself.
Except to get dates.
Well, yes. I do have a level 1 trainer just so I can do the e-hookup thing. I'm kidding, I don't. But, as someone who doesn't play it and who have watched other people play it, I see them talk about people who they suspect as cheating. And they're like, there's no way unless you spend hours and hours and hours doing it where most people are working a regular job. They seem to be a little upset, but it doesn't seem like it's really changing their overall experience all that much.
Yeah, I think there's actually levels to cheating when it comes to Pokemon Go, right? So we've seen Twitch kind of come out and give account strikes for people who are spoofing their GPS, playing at home on their kind of computer. I don't have as much of a problem with that. I mean, they're still legitimately having to play the game. It's probably even harder on the computer, to be completely honest. The people who set a bot and get to level 40 by just grinding, I do think that's kind of a problem. But then again, right now we don't have a competitive mode, so it's not like you're set up to be better than someone else and make more money. Like, you're just that level 40 earlier.
Right.
Great.
Is this the end game? Does it really?
There's no end game.
Well, then what's the point?
The end game is the grind. So you skip the grind and there's no end. It's just a black hole.
Well, it's pointless. You just ruined it for yourself. Cheaters. You're not doing yourselves any favors at that point. If you're just cheating to get past the point of playing the game for the point of being in a black hole chasm by yourself, why? I don't know.
No, you know what? They're probably just those assholes who are like, hey, look, Paul, I'm level 40 already.
Oh, wait, you know what? There is a place I know where you can get ice cream depending on your Pokemon level. Maybe they're in it for the free ice cream.
Ooh, that's
Mystery
a good
solved. It's a conspiracy theory. You can start up a new trainer. Just look, I got to another level. Look, can I get 3 scoops of Coconut Dream, please?
It'd be really funny if they were like selling their accounts. So like, I'm selling level 40 account. The only Pokemon I have are Pidgeys. That's it. All I have are Pidgeys. But I'm level 40.
True story. Amazon's in the lead, followed by Google in a distant second, and all of a sudden, here comes a new challenger. Microsoft is getting into the streaming game with the acquisition of a low-latency interactive gaming stream service called Beam. Imagine Twitch plays Pokemon without the chaos. Maybe that was the best part. Anyway, Sam, Twitch may be currently in the lead, but is Beam a real contender?
I really think it is. Beam, so I didn't get exposed to Beam until they won kind of TechCrunch Disrupt New York earlier this year. And their low latency is really impressive. In some cases, depending on basically your bandwidth performance, you can get into under 1 second of latency difference. And so for games like the new like crowd play Telltale game for Batman, you can't play that on Twitch. You can't play it on YouTube. You kind of can do it on Hitbox, but like Beam's FTL mode is really where it shines, and you can just go at it.
Okay, well, I can. Like, it's one of those things I feel for me, like, the appeal is there and the technology is there, but is the advertising going to work for them? Like, are they going to be able to convert people from their Twitch accounts to Beam? Like, I know Twitch rules are kind of like somewhat stringent for certain people, and certain people get away with murder, but the audience is already there is really the bottom line.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to crop from that group, like, with some kind of appeal to it. Maybe like, what's the payment system going to be like?
Right, and I think that's something they haven't explored too much yet, right? So right now, they have this kind of currency system in the game, or in the service, that, you know, you get points as you watch, you get points as you stream, and then you can spend points on the interactive portion. So I'm wondering if that's going to be kind of their, like, tipping service in the future. But I mean, here's the thing that really changes about this with the acquisition from Microsoft is now they have money behind it.
It's true.
Right? And when you look at something like Twitch, which really hasn't changed too much, I mean, they've added these bits now, but it's not completely widespread to everyone yet. You still are primarily focused on getting to some sort of partnership status before you're really making money versus like Hitbox, where you can just be like, making money now.
Money now.
So if Beam can find a sweet spot in the middle, like, and they can just peel off people who, you know, tried YouTube gaming, realized that's not going to hit the mark because it's really not dedicated to gaming yet, the money might just bring them there.
It's true. You also got to figure that Microsoft is going to bake that into pretty much every product they sell from now on. So, like, you can imagine, like, the next generation Xboxes that are coming out are all going to have Beam as an app right there built into it. And I would also imagine they're going to try to plug it into the Xbox Live Marketplace. So even for PC and things like that, they're going to push it as much as they can, obviously, if they bought this product. So.
Yeah. I mean, and Beam is a little bit more gamified. You know, like I mentioned that you kind of get points for watching and get points for streaming. You also level up. Like we're level 31 based on all the streaming that we've done on Beam now. It's kind of cool, and they can add a little bit different things to it where, like, even as a viewer, just because I'm getting like more live interaction, it can be cool. Like they're integrated with Discord right now, so you could ostensibly run all your chats out of there. You could audio chat live. There's a lot of features there that Twitch just hasn't caught up to. I don't know if because they don't care to, or
it's probably because they're the only game in town.
Yeah.
As in their mind, they definitely are. Like, they're the largest streaming service for games. So innovation when we need to. Like, if we already have the audience that's built in, why are we going to put more effort into developing it further?
And that's the best part about this, right? Because I think it actually will put some fuel to the fire against Twitch, right? Because YouTube gaming hasn't broken in because, you know, even now, if you go to YouTube and you search a game that's currently being streamed on regular YouTube, you're not going to see that, like, oh, at the top, here are the live streamers. Click on this box to see who's streaming live. You're just going to see the content that's already there because that's how they monetize their entire platform.
Exactly.
Until they actually change and be stream friendly, Twitch doesn't need to look at them as a competitor.
Exactly. Competition breeds innovation. Like, that's kind of thing. So who knows? Maybe we'll see a couple of months or maybe a couple of years. Like, maybe they will be a direct threat to them, but only time will tell.
Yep. Do you want to play games now? Well, maybe you'll soon be able to access all your favorite PlayStation classics on PC and Mac. Rumors this week suggest that Sony will soon announce its PlayStation Now streaming service, available on a desktop or laptop near you for $20 a month, or $15 if you buy 3 months at a time. Paul, with over 400 titles in the library, including games like Last of Us, will PC gamers finally get on the console-exclusive bandwagon?
Console exclusive, but they're still in PC, so it's like. I think it may have some level of success because I think there are enough people who have grown up with PlayStation or the original PlayStation at this point who that's kind of a nostalgia thing. It's kind of what Nintendo keeps doing with their retro gaming consoles and trying to bring that nostalgia back for certain people. And I think there may be some appeal for people on a PC to get buying this product.
Yeah, I mean, like, Last of Us is actually a great example. I have plenty of friends who are PC gamers. They don't really want to touch consoles, but they would love to play Last of Us.
Right.
And it is a great game. And I think if you look at that market, they have a lot of titles that are pretty classic and easy to play. Mm-hmm. And especially because you just plug in a controller right into your PC and everything works. It's easy access. And $20 a month, if you really are like into kind of retro gaming,
right,
isn't a huge hurdle, right?
Not at all.
Especially if things just work and the quality is there.
True. No, you're absolutely right about that. And I can see definitely that PC crowd saying, I've always watched this where I've gotten like 2 or 3 times to play it for a few minutes at my friend's house, but now I can experience everything they've done in the last 20, 30 years. Like, I think that's a big piece.
Yeah, and I think one thing that people don't give enough credit to is the fact that PlayStation Now is a streaming service, right? Mm-hmm. So the spec for your computer doesn't have to be really big to actually play the game.
No.
And that doesn't matter on the PS4 because your PS4 is out-spec'd to your PS3 or anything like that. It kind of matters if you're doing the PlayStation TV thing, but I mean, this means I could plug in my Surface and play and not have to worry about like how much it's going to tax the graphics or anything like that. Yeah. So I think it brings that accessibility there. Now, I would love to see them drop the price even a little bit more.
Maybe an introductory price or something like that to get people interested.
But I think this is a move in the right direction. I think when we talk about like universal Windows platform, Sony's got to do something to compete. This might be a good way.
Yeah, it could be a good starting point for them anyway. Like, again, Sony doesn't have as much money as Microsoft, but they do have a long like list of titles from their previous generation that they're sitting there doing nothing with them. So I can see them using something like this to start spurring that kind of success and perhaps leading to something better in the future.
If you're already willing to pay like $16 to play Final Fantasy VII on your iOS device or whatever,
right?
What's $20 to play it on a PS4?
True.
Or your PC.
Yeah. It's time for a break where we pay our bills and see how many times we've leveled up on Bean.
When we come back, did the hype train set your imagination wild? Did sky-high expectations of No Man's Sky set it up to fail? Stay tuned, you're watching the Nerdy News Roundup. This week's sponsor we wish we had is Team 17 and their newest game, Overcooked. I'm a huge fan of co-op games and cooking, so my mind was totally blown by this 4-player local co-op extravaganza. Cooking in haunted houses, and on a boat, and even in space, this game is a shut up and take my money moment for me. So if you know anyone at Team 17, tell them we sent you and beg them to give us some money, or free early beta access to any DLC. And for our main story tonight, the long-anticipated massive-scale procedurally generated space exploration game No Man's Sky finally arrived on store shelves. Legitimately this time. With all the hyped coverage, early trailers, and even Redditors stating that the game would be the last game I'll ever need or desire, long before the game came out, the hype train may have thrown the game under the bus. In a pre-launch post about the game, Hello Games founder Sean Murray stated, "That means this maybe isn't the game you imagined from those trailers. If you hope for things like PvP multiplayer or city building, piloting freighters, or building civilizations, that isn't what NMS is. The hype train may be able to sell games, but it can't actually make a game something it's not." Paul, was Sony able to make a game seem so good that it made it bad?
I'm not necessarily sure it made the game bad, but I think it definitely put the expectations of the purchasers into a fantasy world that couldn't possibly be attained by everything. Like, there's no way that the game could have been what everyone imagined it would be. That's just not how things work.
But how do you build the expectations that high? I mean, I know from some of the footage that I saw, some of the E3 coverage, I was like, what is this game going to be more than that? They're not showing me anything that makes me believe all this other stuff happened. Why would gamers think that?
But, I mean, that's how it's like a game of telephone. Like basically one person says, oh, there's a chance you can build cities at some point during the game, and then so you can build cities. So then it starts off with maybe, and then becomes, well, this is now online fact. That's just kind of how things work when you have a hype train that's on that level. I don't really fault the developers because it is an independent game. It's labeled now as a full blockbuster price, but that's not necessarily the intent. Like Sony just hyped it up that much where enough people, the word got around enough about it where rumors started flying, and then there's people who had expectations that were just completely unrealistic.
Well, and so here's the thing, reading a lot of the coverage, most of it suggests that, Hello Games, the developer, never came out and was like, oh yeah, this game is going to be great. It's going to be the next big thing since, basically what Spore was supposed to be, right?
Right.
Why do you think that those expectations weren't tapered by essentially the media saying like, hey guys, we know the hype trains were really big for this game, lowered your expectations. The developer's not even saying it's going to be that.
I imagine there were probably some media outlets that said that maybe just their voice wasn't loud enough to get carried through. But I mean, it's honestly not their job to do that anyway. They're not supposed to curtail people's imagination about what games should and shouldn't be. Their job is just to cover the information they had, which was pretty much what we had, which is, kind of light. I didn't see all that much about No Man's Sky other than, all the great footage and stuff like that, and, flying in and out of orbit. And, I thought it was pretty cool looking, but I didn't go to the boards and I didn't really follow it as much as some other people I've known have and said, this is going to be the game that will change my life.
Right. Well, and this kind of leads to kind of a bigger underlying problem. We talked about it a little bit last week, but not in the kind of this specific aspect. But games get announced so early now that the only thing that there is a hype train, and whether it's a hype train to a good game or a hype train to a bad game, we don't know that early. But they try to build that expectation because they know people are going to buy it right away.
Exactly.
And then who cares who buys it 3 months from now? If they made back their money, including marketing right away, that paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, I don't know, when you have a hype train that's that far out, especially several years and things like that, I think that only exacerbates the overlying problem, or I wouldn't say problem, the stigma, or whatever you want to call it, where the more time you have, the more imagination can run wild for a lot of the people who are looking at purchasing it. So, and especially with online now, again, back to the rumor mill, you've got now 2 years of rumor mill built up around a game that's perpetuated to do, it's also not, in addition to playing games, it's going to order you dominoes and stuff like that.
With a tweet. I mean, I think I get your point, but I mean, we're looking at games that have such a long history now. I don't even understand why within a 2 to 3 year time frame you would even want to make that announcement, because so many things can change either with technology or even how a game story would play out. Well, why tether yourself down?
Well,
is this just publishers pushing it?
I mean, as a gaming company, I mean, you do want hype around your game. I mean, probably not negative hype, because people aren't going to be like, wow, this game's going to be crap, we don't want to buy that. But positive hype, you want people to be excited about your product. You want them to, I don't think you want them to go as far as they went in this case, but you do want them to be somewhat interested in what you're doing, even if it's a couple years out. I don't necessarily think it's the best idea to have big tables and press coverage about something that's not under development like that, because that's not, you're not really showing them anything. You're obviously just feeding into only hype as opposed to gameplay, which is, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about games.
Well, but even then, I think to your point of promotion, I think, I look at something like Gears 4, right? And at least the way it's kind of trickled out so far, the trailers were just one hey, we're making Gears 4, and Epic's going to make it, right? Or it's going to go back, right, to what it was before. And then there's a trailer that's oh, Marcus is in it. It's a story trailer. It's legitimately a trailer. It's not promising something about the game.
But you're also talking about an already established franchise.
True.
It's Gears, so you have a general concept from the past 3 games of what it's essentially going to be like. With a new IP like this, especially one from an indie company, they promised a lot. I remember the one demo where they backed out from all the stars. It's 18 quintillion is the number of stars or something like that. Which is, I mean, it was really impressive watching that. But you still don't have an expectation of how you, the player, are going to interact with that, because there hasn't been a game in this installment before. It's a new IP. And consequently, I do think if Sony hadn't been involved and they would have published this game like a typical indie company would, I don't think there'd be this outrageous, like outlandish stigma about this game that we're experiencing now.
Which is ironic because that game might have been more profitable to be, because the hype train costs money. Cost money to fuel that hype train.
Yeah, no, but Sony was willing to foot that bill, so.
So I guess to kind of round this out, who's really at fault here? Is it Sony or is it the internet at large?
I'm not sure if it's. I'm not sure if there's fault to be had. Like, I feel like it's a bad situation, but I also feel like this is just kind of part of the business. And I mean, again, in that imaginary world where they went about it as an indie game and they just had like people following it as an indie game, I don't think it would have gotten this out of hand. As opposed to Sony hyping it up as like, this is going to be why you play PS4, even before there was any kind of gameplay available. Like, when you spin it that way, sure. I guess if you want to label blame to one person or one group of people, it would be Sony. But at the end of the day, they're still a company and they're trying to make money. They're like, hey, here's a franchise that we can have exclusively on PlayStation or PlayStation and PC.
A lot of exclusivity there now.
Right. I mean, with the PC market, it's going to be really less. But they understand, like, they're trying to sell it as a game that's going to sell their system, which, right or wrong, they did what they had to. And now, obviously, they've met with a league of success. It wasn't, looking back on it, would they have done things the same way? I don't want to say probably.
Yeah, probably.
Probably would have.
Absolutely. Do you think it's finally time for game trailers to stop coming out so early? Tell us what you think about the dangers of the hype train in the comments below. Can't get enough of nerd culture? Then check out all the great content we have on the Nerdy Nights YouTube channel. Join me and Eric on Couch Co-op Confidential as we stream couch co-op games. Currently, we're making our way through the Overcooked game, where we're making space burritos and setting things on fire. Mike and I have just picked up the stick of truth and are saving South Park from the Drow Elves. Check out Let's Play Podcast for a whole new way to Let's Play. And don't forget to check out Board Nights, where we try to play board games, usually unsuccessfully. Click the links below for all this great content and more.
And now for everyone's favorite segment of the week, we turn to our lightning round where we answer the age-old question, does this matter? Do your sneakers feel stupid to you? Then you need to get a pair of Pokemon Go smart sneakers, which can vibrate when a Pokemon is nearby and display it on a thin LED layer. Sam, is this Kickstarter more than just a bad pun?
No, it's absolutely just a bad pun. I mean, I really don't like Kickstarters for things like this because I feel like it's setting you up just to fail. Like, I don't know. I don't think this matters because I don't think this product will ever see the light of day.
No, it won't.
You're just going to get a lot of people who throw, I'm going to guess, like $200 to $300 at a pair of shoes that they'll maybe get in 5 years. And by then, the game's not going to be relevant. Like, I mean, if it was just vibrating, I might think it would come to life. But vibrating, and they're going to put LEDs on there so you can see what Pokemon are around.
Wait, are the LEDs on the shoes or is it?
Yeah, so the LEDs are outside of the shoes and they'll change to show you the Pokemon.
I mean, I could see you selling that as something else to some rappers, but I don't think you're going to be able to sell this for Pokemon Go. Also, 2 more words. Waterproofing. I don't know how you're going to sell this to anyone in Seattle. You're done. Like, no, I don't think it's relevant in the least.
VR just isn't realistic enough unless you can smell the game's farts. Which only matters if you're a South Park fan. The team behind The Fractured But Whole has invented the Nosuless Rift, a fully immersive nose-mounted device. Paul, this device smells like a joke, but is it?
I am strangely uncomfortable with this. I feel like it should be a joke, and everything in my body is telling me it is a joke, but if they actually come out with it, Lord, I don't know how would that work? How do you portray smell like through?
You got to put these like scent capsules in and generate the smell.
Like if I put in one that says farts, I'm probably gonna be like, I'm gonna pass on this. I don't need this much immersion, like farts or poo. Like this is Mr. Hanky scene. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's never happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters in terms of like anything else other than the fact that the commercial for it was hilarious.
Yeah.
This is really just proof that these guys are creative.
Right.
They know what they're doing. They know how to make people really amused by their content,
Sure.
by their game. it only makes me more excited for the game, even though this product is completely fake.
It's completely fake, but this is very relevant because, you got to give them points for creativity in this one. 9 years in the making, Pokemon Uranium is finally launched this week. A fan-made game that took Pokemon to a whole nuclear level, only to be pulled after 1.5 million downloads. Sam, will the torrent of this game last longer than it took to create it?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think it'll just go on forever and ever and ever. I mean, the game itself looked cool. It took a lot of creativity to really create new Pokemon into this entire series. And from what I've seen of the gameplay, it's the nostalgia that everyone wanted in a really different sense. I mean, Pokemon games are a little bit based on a recipe, and it seems to work for them.
It's a good formula. I do like Pokemon is definitely one of the better mobile games I've seen people play on DS that people really can't seem to get enough of. So, and 1.5 million downloads means it's out there.
It's out there. I mean,
it doesn't matter if you pulled it or not.
Yeah, and the funny part is that, this is the exact opposite of the League Sharp thing we had earlier. They pulled it after a cease and desist.
Yeah.
Nintendo didn't sue them. Nintendo didn't further. They were just like, you know what? Like, we know what you did here, but
just stop no more. Well, I think they knew after that many downloads, there's nothing they could do anyway. Just stop, but...
That's how people should release games from now on. It's just like, we're going to leak it, 1.5 million downloads, all right, it'll live in torrent forever.
Right.
We're out.
Completely.
Heroes never die, unless you're a Korean Overwatch player who decided to aimbot on stream. This top 200 ranked player got banned halfway during a match when he was blatantly cheating as Widowmaker. Paul, should Blizzard put the pro tip in their game, don't cheat?
Should they even have to do that? I mean, okay, you go into a game, and you just, it doesn't say not to cheat. Should they have to tell people not to cheat in games? Especially for pro games, or a game that potentially has an esports idea behind it.
Right. I mean, I think the best part about this story, and the reason I think it does matter, is it shows that people are paying attention.
True.
Right? The fact that you could kick I mean, he was probably not streaming for 3 days straight, right? So let's say he was streaming for a couple of hours. The fact that someone can get on the horn to do a ban within a couple of hours, it's not bad.
No, it also lets cheaters know, look, they're probably watching.
Yeah.
And there's a prime example now that's readily available for you to see what happens if you do decide to cheat. Now, I will say cheaters will usually try to beat the system anyway, but now
usually by not streaming, them cheating.
Yeah, streaming cheating is probably a bad idea, but now they know at least that they're watching and there will be action taken against them. It's not like certain other games where they'll just get away with it indefinitely. So it's a big deal. Overwatch heroes aren't the only thing that come back from the dead. The gaming company THQ is back from the land of living, but in name only, as Nordic Games rebranded to THQNordic. Sam, is rebranding your company after a failed company a good idea?
Generally speaking, no. I mean, I don't think this really matters. I think Nordic bought the license for THQ. They actually bought a good chunk of their games when they were kind of going out of business to kind of prop up these IPs that they had. So I think it actually just makes sense for them to do it, but I don't think it matters because they're not winning over hearts and minds of gamers in a way they didn't already have them.
Right. Well, I mean, they had, like you said, they have most of the games under their belt anyway. I don't know, maybe it's just a visibility thing, but I don't know how much more visible they need to be. I know Nordic by name anyway. And do I necessarily need to know that we also have THQ on board too? I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but maybe that's just me personally. Maybe if you were like a THQ diehard and you're kind of, butthurt that they went under, maybe this does show, oh, look, Nordic is still very much devoted to making additional THQ games. I'd like to see new Darksiders 3 and 4 to finish out that series. So maybe someone who's a diehard THQ fan is thinking the same thing. They're not really serious about it. Maybe now I can have hope again, but I'm not sure if that's actually the case, so.
Sure. Our producer hasn't stopped crying since news broke that Final Fantasy 15 would be delayed for 2 months. With no official reports, the website that broke the story posted an image from GameStop showing how to put the new available date sticker over the old ones in store displays. Paul, is this the beginning of the end? Is GameStop becoming a reputable news source?
Well, I mean, they're a game distribution company, so they should at least know in the game that's been delayed, it has been delayed by how long, especially as it's starting to approach that street date. So I would say reputable news source, more the fact that, our coming soon site has to be changed because the street date for this game is off. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think this really matters. I think all of the reports out about Final Fantasy 15 was, they needed a little bit more time to get some of the technical elements right. If you've watched some of the gameplay, it's far beyond what I would have ever expected for a Final Fantasy game. So I'm super impressed by it. Yeah. If they need a little bit more time to get it right, I mean, this game's already 10 years in the making. What's a couple of months?
It ain't gonna matter to anyone else who's been waiting that long. I mean, unless there's someone on their deathbed in like the next couple of months. And, this is gonna cut down on the time I have left to play this game. For that person, I feel sorry for you, but you're very much the minority. It's not that big of a deal at the end of the day.
Yep. As the show comes to a close, it's time for Meme of the Week. This week's meme comes courtesy of Twitter and Photoshop. As No Man's Sky went gold, the Hello Games team posted a picture of the disc, and the internet went to town. My favorites include this one of No Man's Sky as Spore, proving once again that two hype trains don't make a right. Or this one of the game as a Nickelback album. Maybe all those planets are all the same too. No Man's Sky was all in our overactive imaginations because this game was really Half-Life 3. Or maybe all this hype leaves you wishing you were Homer Simpson. Here's a donut for you. If you have any ideas for next week's Meme of the Week, be sure to tweet us at nerdy_nights. And that's it for this week's Nerdy News Roundup. Don't let us go the way of nuclear Pokemon. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
I'm Paul Mooney.
And I'm Sam Chen.
Join us again next week because the last thing the world needed was another nerdy news show, but you tuned in anyways.